Welcome to the Nitro College Football Show, college football from a Georgia point of view. I'm Burl.
And I'm Streit.
And we got breaking news today that former Georgia quarterback Carson Beck has pulled his name out of the hat for the NFL draft and has hit the transfer portal. Lots of mixed feelings with this right now. I personally don't know how I feel about it because there's a lot of good memories, but then there's also like, hey, it's kind of betrayal type thing, and it doesn't sit well with me.
Well, McShay won, right? He came out and he talked all his trash and said it was a horrible decision for Carson to go pro, and I guess Carson agreed with him, or at least somebody who was willing to pay Carson a lot more money than Georgia was willing to pay got in his ear and said, hey, son, you need to pull your name out of that transfer or out of that NFL draft pool and get into this transfer portal because we want you. The immediate thought is, well, he's going to Miami because, Miami has a history of getting transfer quarterbacks and bringing them in for 1 year. They have a history of spending a lot of money in NIL. And oh, by the way, Carson Beck's internet girlfriend is also at Miami. So him being from Florida doesn't hurt either. So it wouldn't surprise me if Miami is the alternate destination for Carson Beck. There could be another school or two that's out there. I've heard some rumbles at Texas Tech and maybe Ohio State, which then I would be really mad, but I think he probably ends up at Miami.
Yeah, I think it's a weird mix of teams when you have Texas Tech and Ohio State in the same sentence about trying to get somebody. I love the destination of Miami. That makes me feel a little better as a Georgia fan. And I think it works out well for him. And, a lot of stuff that people have been saying is like JD Pickle on On3, that this would have never happened without Cam Ward, with what he did in this past year. And when you look at the situation, it's very similar to Cam Ward, pulling his name out of the draft and then, getting paid to go down to South Beach there. I wish him the best. But it just feels weird, to see this kind of thing happen because he's a 2-year starter at, one of the premier programs in all of college football. And, he waited his turn, that was a big story. He was loyal. And when he finally got his turn, he was a starter. And I know this year didn't go necessarily how he wanted it to, but then you look at what Georgia's done in the portal thus, so far, going out and getting weapons, because the two areas that Georgia struggled with all year was O-line and wide receiver. So it's kind of weird. Like, okay, we got these weapons and now you're gone. But it kind of makes sense how he was reacting during the Notre Dame game, during the Sugar Bowl, because normally you see quarterback, got the headset on or earpiece, is very involved, huddled up with the team when they come to the sideline, telling the backup quarterback, hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is what, blah, 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 all that good stuff, being a really team guy. He was just real stoic, just sitting on the sideline and staring, no emotion whatsoever. And, Kirby even said during, one of his press conferences that, Carson kind of did all of his medical stuff on his own, like no real contact with Georgia, no planning, no nothing like that. So maybe, this was just like once he got injured, he said, I had enough and was ready to move on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't look at this situation as Carson Beck was looking to transfer from Georgia because he wasn't happy at Georgia. I think the situation happened that he got hurt, and that kind of ended his career at Georgia. For Georgia, we were ready to move on. And being forced into starting a quarterback who'd never played before in the playoffs kind of made the team rally a little bit around him and kind of really pump him up. And if you look at what kind of has already happened, Jaden Rashada transferred. I think Georgia looked at Carson was leaving. He announced that he was going to go pro. And so they were already starting to stack the deck for next year, looking at quarterback depth. We've got 2 freshman quarterbacks coming in. It was no secret that Carson Beck thought about going pro after last season, and the Georgia collective made him a lot of money this year. They paid him a lot of money to come back. And maybe they said, you know what? We got a lot of donors and stuff to pony up a lot of money for you to come back last year. And, you didn't have the greatest year, and we're not willing to do that again. And so maybe Carson said, well, sounds like somebody else is. So, maybe it's time for me to move on. And I don't think this is a situation where Carson is mad or angry at Georgia or vice versa. I think it was just, this was the situation and it happened, and it just might be time for him to go.
Yeah. And after the injury, just seeing how the team rallied around Gunner, and every interview, the team was really hyped for him. Like, you could tell that they really respected him and wanted to play hard for him. I mean, Kirby even said it, that the team played, wants to play harder, or plays harder for him. And we both talked about that before, about how that was kind of an odd statement, going into major playoff game. But yeah, I agree with you. It's not like he's anti-Georgia. At least I don't think he is. Because he really did have a good kind of storybook ending with considering his injury. He still came in last play, got the team lined up in the right package and stuff, and handed the ball off for the touchdown to win the SEC. That was a great visual at the end. Right. And wherever he goes, I hope he does well. I just hope he doesn't go to an SEC school or one of the other big powers.
I mean, somebody mentioned Ohio State, and if he wanted to go and throw for 1,000,000 yards and kind of be set up on easy street, Ohio State would be the place to go. They have a lot of quarterback talent there in Columbus, and so bringing in a guy as a 1-year rental would probably make a lot of people mad. We already saw Aaron Dolan leave that program. But he would obviously be set up in a perfect situation to go up there and throw to Jeremiah Smith. He wouldn't have the problems he had this year, where he had receivers that couldn't get open and drop the ball.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I mean, I think, his legacy at Georgia, we talked about this previously, was that he had a better year than his numbers indicated because he simply just didn't have the weapons around him. And even when Gunner played in the Sugar Bowl, and he played pretty well, you still saw those flaws with the weapons. Georgia just didn't have the dynamic receivers that they've had and the dynamic running backs that they've had to help the quarterback out. And so maybe that made Carson's season, maybe that made him not as happy in the system. He was recruited under a different offensive coordinator than Bobo. I don't know, but like I said, I think his intention was to go pro, and I think this just boils down to somebody said, "Hey, son, pull your name, and we will pay you to come back." And that's probably what happened.
Yeah, taking the fan hat off, looking at the situation just completely objective. Super smart move. I mean,
I don't know. Is it though? Is it though? Like, is he going to improve his draft stock that much next year? Like, the draft class is not great this year. It's not really great next year, at least right now here, 2025. It could change. But, I mean, you're looking at, an Arch Manning next year, maybe a Nico from Tennessee. But outside of that, there are, I don't know if there are tons of big-name quarterbacks, so maybe that's factoring into his decision. But I just don't know. He played so good last year that I don't know what kind of numbers he can put up that are going to change the perception of him. He's still going to be a 6'4", 6'5", 225-pound quarterback with a strong arm. who generally makes pretty good
super,
decisions. So
yeah, super accurate. Has a really high completion percentage with a very high volume of attempts.
Yeah,
which bodes well for him.
Yeah, I mean, somebody online said maybe this was just a situation similar to Jake Fromm after the 2019 season, where we'd seen a lot of Jake Fromm and we just didn't feel like he was going to get us over the top. And they said, hey, maybe it's time for you to go. And Jake Fromm went to the NFL, and he didn't really necessarily want to, but his hand was kind of forced. And maybe this situation was, maybe we told him, hey, you need to go to the NFL, and he made the decision to try to come back. And we said, we've moved on.
Maybe.
I don't think we'll ever really know. I think this is modern college football. This is somebody made him an offer, and it's going to make him money. And by all accounts, Carson Beck made over $2 million this year between his endorsements and his NIL money from the team. Somebody online said that the rumors are he's going to get a deal that's probably somewhere in the range of $2.5 million just from the team he's going to. So more money that he's going to make sitting on the bench in the NFL next year.
Exactly. So, from a business standpoint, career standpoint, I think it's a smart move.
Yep.
If he's really serious about just trying to improve his draft stock, if that's the goal, he gets to play another year at college. College is awesome. We all know that. And if you get to go to a place like Miami, I mean, God bless him. Hope he survives it. You make that type of money as a college student down in Miami. Who knows what will happen, But, if you get a couple million to come back and play college and bet on yourself to improve your draft stock. If, that's the goal, then it's a smart move. So yeah, damn good dog status. I don't know yet. I'm still debating that in my head. I want to see where he goes first before I judge that.
I think a lot of people are kind of angry at that because, one of the things is he was going to go off to the NFL and represent Georgia. Now, ultimately, he goes to the NFL. He's going to represent somewhere else. And I know in this day and age in transfers, that actually probably doesn't mean nearly as much as it used to. But I know some people's pride gets hurt. So,
yeah. Well, you think about other players that have, made a big impact but transferred. They transferred for other reasons. Like A.D. Mitchell, he transferred because his family and kids and stuff were in Texas, and everybody was like, hey, you go take care of you. You're a damn good dog. You did everything you could and won some natties for us. So much appreciated. But in this situation, it's like, okay, he played 2 years. Logically thinking, okay, I'm going to come back. I've been on this team for 2 years that is competing for national championships. Why would I go somewhere else? Especially when you waited that long for that job. So maybe it is like you said, that Georgia just kind of already said, all right, this is what you should do. We're going with Gunner. He's our guy.
Yeah, I think it probably just boils down to that. Georgia had moved on because they thought he was going to the NFL, and at this point they may have. Who knows? He may have came back and asked for money, and they may have already allocated that same money that was his this year. They just got how many guys in the portal? 4 or 5 guys out of the portal. So that money may be gone. They may not have had that money to give to him, and they would have had to fundraise and raise money again.
And there's a lot of rumors today about some secret big recruit being on campus in Athens today. So who knows? I mean, it's probably a dime a dozen.
That's kind of all I got, man.
Yeah. So I will reserve judgment on that. I want to see where he goes first, and then if he goes to a rival or some other school in the SEC, I'm gonna trash that. But if he goes somewhere like Miami, I mean, even Ohio State, I would hate it, but you couldn't really blame them for going.
It would
like
just bug me.
If they're going to pay a crap load of money and then you go to where the best offensive player, the best receiver in all of college football is, that makes your life easy.
I know. It would just bug me because, the rumors are that Damon Wilson is going to go to Ohio State. And that was clearly a situation of money too. And
I thought that was already announced that he committed.
I don't think he has yet, but
No.
it just, if they're coming down here and offering some of our guys money, then it's going to end up being bidding wars, and it's just going to get ugly. So, and they already have enough talent. So,
yeah, I mean, the Damon Wilson thing, that bothers me. That actually does kind of bother me, because and it only bothers me because of what he apparently said about it. He wanted to go somewhere where he can make more plays.
Right. And guys around him all left. So he was
like,
going to get more snaps this year.
It's like, dude, the two people who were in front of you are not there anymore. You are the guy. Like,
yep.
This is where you make
Walker
plays.
and Munden and Williams, and there was opportunity everywhere on the Georgia defense. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's the kids. It's what they drive today. It's the money. It's the NIL. So that's what it is. And that's the world we're living in.
Yeah. I think we're just going to see, until all this really settles out and they get a plan, that we're going to start seeing the decline of the quality of football that we're seeing, because these guys aren't staying in programs and developing. That's just my initial thought. On the flip side, maybe they, I don't know, pick up new things from each place they go to, but I just don't think it works that way.
Yeah. We shall see.
That'll do it for us. Have a good night. We'll be with you to talk about the results of the semifinals. So we'll see you then. Go Dogs.
Go Dog.